Hello, everybody. Sorry about this late start. This is Stephen Flanagan with Therap. Hopefully you guys are able to see my screen. If I could just get a quick show of hands, or if anyone wants to use the question or the chat bar, just to let me know that you can see my screen okay, and I am coming in nice and clear. That would be super helpful. All right, awesome. Thank you guys very much. All right, so for today, we are looking at the changes that are going to be taking place with the pharmacy interface. This is an update to the system that will be happening. It's proposed to happen this weekend, so we'll have a little bit of downtime. Basically, what I'm going to do today is kind of walk you guys through some of those changes. We do have a beta for this. I've been a little sketchy on being able to use the beta, so I've got everything kind of spelled in a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll be walking you through the process, a little bit of what you guys will be expecting as far as changes to this, because whether or not you use the pharmacy interface, whether or not you use the MAR, seeing some changes from this module. So we'll be covering those, although we're going to really talk quite a bit about the pharmacy interface and what to expect from that. So let's go ahead and begin. By the way, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to use that chat bar or the questions bar, questions section like you just have, and I will go ahead and reach out to you. Brandy just sent a message about receiving a copy of the PowerPoint. I'm going to do you one better. This recording is going to be put on our website. So anyone who enrolled for this class, I will email you a link to the recording tomorrow when we post it. So you'll have it all set up. We will put this on the website, and it will get kind of front and center information for the remainder of the week, or at least for a little while we are ramping up to the pharmacy interface. All right, so let's go ahead and let me just minimize my attendee window here. One other thing, usually with these webinars, there's like a raising hand feature. I am not very good about putting hands down after they're raised, so if you do have a question, try and use the questions or the chat. Those kind of pop up as an alert for me so I can easily stop and answer your question along the way. All right, so about the new pharmacy interface. If you are working with a pharmacy who uses a HL7 language software called QS1 or SpeedScripts, also HL7. Either one of those softwares, you are going to be able to participate in this pharmacy interface. So your pharmacy, whatever program they're using, there's several large software languages that they might be using. QS1 is one of those types of platforms that actually acts as a database for all of the pharmaceutical fields and all the stuff that they're doing on their end. So contact your pharmacy. If they're not using QS1 or they're not using SpeedScripts, it's not the end of the world. These are our pilots. We want to start with these two, and we'll be looking to roll this out to other software vendors as well moving forward. We just had to pick one that worked or two that worked to start with. So don't panic. This will not take another 5 years for us to add something else. Once we've built it like we've built it, now we can just add that platform and give the instructions to other software vendors so other pharmacies can participate. So as long as your pharmacy has one of those two, they're going to be able to participate right away. Providers are going to receive pharmacy messages. So you're basically going to go and link yourself to a provider, and the pharmacy is going to link themselves to you. And as the pharmacy is typing in information about individuals that they have in their system, you are going to get messages about those individuals in your system when there are new medications being sent from the doctors, changes to doctors' orders, hold placements, anything like that. So that information gets pushed directly to Therap. In order for that to happen, you're going to have to do some mapping between what the pharmacy's individual is in the system and what Therap's individual is in the system. So your pharmacy or your agency may have some inaccurate information about an individual. We're not going to force both of you to change what you have in your system. We're going to give you side-by-side information on the individual, so you can say, yes, that person that you have whose birthday you have as May 6, 1983 is the same person that the pharmacy has whose birthday is June 5th, 1983. So you can kind of match them and say, yes, they are the same person. All right, so the information flow is going to start from the pharmacy. So over here on the left-hand side of this graphic, the pharmacy types in their information into their software, QS1 encrypt. That interface magically transforms everything into Therap, where it is going to go. If you haven't done this before, you're going to have to start with a process of setting up the pharmacy who you're linked to. So you have to put that information in your end as a Therap provider. Pharmacies will set themselves up, and then they'll be able to be linked with local Therap providers. You will plug in provider identification information. So there has to be some sort of information linked to each provider. And then you will link to each individual that pharmacy also has. So if that pharmacy is sending you information, you'll get an alert that says this is, potentially this individual, and you only get that after you plug in information about one of your individuals that you want to link. So if you plug in that information, it will then link to the same person that the pharmacy has because they're linked to you, and that's the closest matched individual. So you'll get a confirmation screen that the two people are in fact the same. And once you confirm them, they'll be linked. Then the information will go directly from the pharmacy directly into Therap as a pharmacy message. And this is just a update of medication changes, a hold order, some change to a medication history. And from that pushes information to the medication history, and it pushes information to the MAR, but not before you are acknowledging that message. And when you acknowledge that message, you can acknowledge that message and create a new medication history. And when you create a new medication history, you are then creating a new MAR as well. So the process is completely managed still by Therap users as far as what information gets into Therap, but you're getting information sent directly from your pharmacy. All right, so you will get on your home page, on your admin tab, you will get a place where you will be able to link individuals and search for pharmacy messages. So I am looking, this is just pulled from the admin tab. I can go ahead and link individuals there to see if there's any individuals that still need to be linked because they're not getting information from the pharmacy. I can go ahead and do a new linkage, or I can search for people who are linked and see if their information has changed. See what the information the pharmacy has on file and let them know they need to change something because it's inaccurate. I can also enter individual data from clicking on new. I would go ahead and enter information about my individual that I want to link. So if I want to link with Isabella, I have to give her a linked individual ID that both I and the pharmacy are going to have. So whatever your parameters are, or the pharmacy comes up with parameters, you're just going to use that, and then you can go ahead and link from a pharmacy who you are going to be linked to. So far, pretty easy to go through that process. Once you link those two individuals, or you say you want to link Isabella, the information coming from the pharmacy, because they've pushed information to you for Isabella, it will be confirmed that their Isabella is the same as your Isabella, and any kind of information between those two accounts, between the pharmacy's information and Therap's information, will be listed for you to compare. You're not going to be able to do anything to change this information coming from the pharmacy. It's just for you to be aware, yes, this is the same person, I want to link them. Or no, the pharmacy is trying to push and this is actually someone else's information, they don't have enough data, at which case, you've got the administrator account, make the phone call to the pharmacy and let them know they're sending the wrong person. All right, so I think I went back a step. No, I didn't. It just looks the same. On your health tab, on your health tab, you are going to have a section in your health tracking for pharmacy messages that you can go ahead and do a search for previous pharmacy messages that may have arrived. You'll get this on your dashboard too, so you don't have to go and do a search every time the pharmacy sends you a message. But you will be able to go in and do a search for any messages that had been sent in the past. You can search by individual name. You can search by messages coming from a particular pharmacy who you are now linked to. You can search by prescription number. If you have that prescription number is going to be on each MAR, so you'll be able to see that, and each medication history. You'll even be able to search by the parameter dates when that message was received. I am not for certain at this point how far back you can do a message received date. Usually in Therap, we try and limit stuff to, within 3 months or 6 months or 13 months without kind of making you narrow down and put some more fields in. So I don't know what those search parameters are at this time. we'll try and make it so it's not too stringent and making it difficult for you to go in and find things. But we also want to make sure that you're not going to be searching for 7 years worth of data without any further information every time you do a search. The more information you can put in, the quicker those queries can go. All right, so like I said, in addition to the Health tab, on your To-Do tab, you're going to have a section for your pharmacy messages where you'll be able to see those messages coming in, and anytime the pharmacy message comes in, you've got a new medication history that is being pushed by the pharmacy, or a change or update to someone's medication history that's being pushed by the pharmacy. So you can go ahead and click on those 7 medium-level pharmacy messages to acknowledge, and you see a list of those messages. Any one of them that have been acknowledged, then you can go ahead and select that and acknowledge it. There will be an acknowledge button at the bottom of that message with all the changes and drug details. Anything that is pending acknowledgement is going to show a status that it is pending acknowledgement, and you can go ahead and select that. And when you select one of those pharmacy messages, you're going to see information coming from the pharmacy in narrative fields. So all of the fields that the pharmacy has added, like the medication name, the drug code, we already know the individual's information. This is for Isabella. You've already kind of identified that. So they've put in all the information about the medication. You know, its dosage, its form, its purpose, its medication route, device, method, instruction. A lot of fields that you don't currently have on your medication histories now, you will have with this change to the pharmacy interface. Even if you're not using pharmacy interface, these fields are changing throughout Therap, and we'll talk about that a little bit down the road. Sorry, just writing down a quick note for myself to get back to that. All right, you also have, we've got a new section called timing quantity list, but if you look at those fields, this is actually your schedule and frequency and how often this med is going to be given and when it is going to be given. So your old schedule in the old version of the MAR is now a timing quantity. Sorry about the naming mechanisms for staff retraining, but in order to standardize this with pharmacies, we need to use the pharmacy language as well. So there is a little bit of a learning curve for staff using medication histories. They will get some changes in language in a few sections. You also have a medication component list, which is just information about the med. You have things like the UPC or NDC code that comes with that medication, the name of that medication, if it has something like a generic name rather than the brand name, the strength, the amount, the type. We didn't used to have strength before. That used to be dose. I'll talk to you a little bit about changes to dose and strength. But you see with this information, you get all the information from the pharmacy, and you have the option to acknowledge this or acknowledge this and create a medication history. So if I wanted to create my medication history from here, I would create that builds a draft medication history where I can link to diagnoses, I can add additional stuff to my schedule that the pharmacy hasn't indicated. So you still have complete control over editing those fields. It's just the pharmacy is going to be able to give you a lot of that information a little bit beforehand. All right, any changes to medication history? For one, when you are creating a medication history from either a pharmacy push message or from scratch, you have some new fields that you will have to address. One of these, you don't have to address this, but you will have a place. Section 2 on your medication history is now about pharmacy and prescriber information. So you can go ahead and list which pharmacy you want to link to, and you can go ahead and view that pharmacy message that came with this information for this medication. So if you've made any changes, you'd be able to go back and see what the pharmacy actually sent. You also have a linked doctor in the pharmacy message who will be automatically linked. You can put in a prescriber information. You can look that up from your shared contacts, but you also have a prescription number that you can add as well. All right, the third section of the medication history, as you scroll down, just picture your medication history field. You'll have a section for medication history information, and we've made some changes there. To start with, we've reorganized that medication history information into 3 categories: general drug information, information about the drug, its name, its lookup, its usage, stuff like that; compound drug components, so a little bit more information about the drug, its strength, its dosage, stuff like that; And then administration details, where you're going to get things like the drug schedule, when it is supposed to be given, how much is supposed to be given at one time. You can do some cool stuff now, like add different schedules, monthly schedules, weekly schedules, really identify when this medication is going to be given, and it will make your medication administration monthly configuration really, really a lot easier. One of the things we have added at the very start is a drug code lookup. So you can look up a drug by its name like you could with our First Data Bank interface. You can also look for a drug by its code, its numeric code. So if you like numbers, we'll give you a outlet for your hobby. The second section of the general drug information includes some new features that we've added, including the drug code, the drug coding system, the strength, and the strength unit. So strength is a new field that we've added. And strength is basically replacing, to an extent, the dosage that we used to have or that we currently have until this interface, this release happens. So strength is basically, if you have Depakote and it comes in an amount of that is the amount of medication in a pill, in a tablet. And while you see 20 listed here for Lasix 20 milligrams, if you have Lasix 20 milligrams, but this is a special pill that also has 0.05 milligrams of, I don't know, Depakote or something, you can list in your strength that you actually have a drug with two different strengths. It doesn't just have to be a numeric like that. You can add a slash or some other information to list the other information. We have strength unit so that you can identify if this is milligrams or micrograms or anything like that to be able to kind of label what your strength is. And then your drug coding system, your NDC number, your UPC number, whatever you're using to give a number for that particular drug, you can go ahead and use that. That information would come directly from the pharmacy if you are interfaced. And then you have the regular information like the medication type and the dosage form, whether it's in a tablet or a suppository or caplet or whatever. With those changes, we have removed some fields from your medication histories. You no longer will have a field for count or total count or dose. Information is not lost. We're going to be keeping all of that information. If you go and look up old forms, you will see count and total count and dose. But any new forms that you're creating are not going to have count, total count, and total dose. And when you look at, I'm sorry, this should be not total count. This should be count, total dose, and dose. So error on my part. I hope that's clear, though, where you used to have a dose and a total dose, where dose would have been a 20 milligram tablet, and the total dose would have been 40 milligrams because you had a count of 2 tablets. That wasn't very clear for a lot of users, so we clarified this with what the pharmacy is using, and we have a different section called give amount / quantity, and that is going to allow you to put in what used to be the dose and the total dose. And we will be doing a migration of all of your data from those 2 fields into the one field so that all of your forms continue to have that same amount of information being pushed from the dose and total dosage field into the new field that takes advantage or takes account of both of those, called give amount / quantity. We also have moved the route information and the frequency information to the administration detail section of your medication history. This is basically because those have to do with creating a drug schedule. How is the drug going to be given, and when is it going to be given? Those will be placed on the actual schedule itself. So the second section of the medication history is the compound drug components. And you can add multiple components. For instance, that example that I gave you with Lasix that has 0.05 milligrams of Depakote, which is probably too little to be of an actual dosage. You may have a component that is Lasix, and you have a code and a coding system and a strength and a give amount or quantity. This used to be your dose or total dose, and a measurement unit and a type. You can have a second entry, a second drug component for Depakote, and put in that 0.05 amount. So that component of that one drug is going to be a second component, and you can kind of departmentalize what is included in that pill. So when you add drug components, you can add a component one at a time, and you can note what the name of that drug is, the coding, the strength unit, which is just milligrams, micrograms, the give amount or quantity, which is going to be, your old dosage or total dosage for your current medications. This will migrate from dose and total dose. And you may have a it may say in parentheses, dose, semicolon 2, comma, total dose, semicolon 4. So that is going to be pulled from your current medications. All right, and you can add those components and update those there. So I've been talking for a good 20 minutes. Does anyone have any questions at this point, or are we clear to keep going? All right, let's keep moving. All right, finally, your third section on your medication history are the administration details. And this is where you are building out your schedule for when this medication is going to be given. So in this case, for this medication, we are building a schedule, although the medication schedule is now called a timing and schedule. So a little bit of staff training there as far as what the new schedules are going to be called, so they are aware of that. And you can see it has the give amount or quantity, and that little question mark is going to show you that used to be the dose and the total dose, so that information would be there as well. The measurement units, the frequency, which used to be in a different section, is being pushed to the schedule. The begin date and time of when this medication is going to start, and the end date and time of when this medication is going to end. Your days in interval will be listed there, and I did not write a note to tell you about days in interval, so I am not sure what that is referencing. We'll have to do a little blog entry about that post-webinar. Apologies about that. Your scheduled times and your scheduled intervals as far as how many times this is supposed to be given per day. So if this is given every day, 2 times a day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and then the instructions of what the staff is supposed to do, take 1 tablet twice daily, so that that information is clear. Those instructions, that's a new field we didn't have. We had a comments field, and your comments will migrate to your instructions. There's a later section I'm going to show you. Comments or instructions are basically combined into the same field for Therap. So you can go ahead, and this timing schedule will be added. You can add this timing and schedule from the pharmacy interface, or you can create a new one. You can create multiple timings and schedules as well. So if you have meds that are to be given, twice a day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., but in the PM, you're also given that same medication once in the PM at, so at 7 a.m., they're given twice a day this amount. And then in the PM, they're given an extra half pill or something. You can create another timing schedule for that if this med is being given in the quantity of half pills. You can create multiple schedules like that. There's a lot of flexibility with these schedules, actually. So if you're looking at the medication schedule form that we would have just clicked on that previous page, so if you're clicking Add Timing and Schedule, then you get this pop-up of a medication schedule form, and there's your give amount, your measurement unit, your begin date, your end date, your begin time and end time, your instructions for how to take the med, and then you are going to schedule some intervals. So you are choosing from a set of tabs whether you have a daily schedule, a weekly schedule, a monthly, an hourly, or an as-needed schedule, and you can do multiple schedules here. So I can do a daily schedule, this is given every day, or I can do a daily schedule where this is given every 3 days, and then on the weekly schedule I can kind of highlight the days, or on the month I can highlight those every 3rd day. So you can add multiple schedules. It's a really cool feature for being able to quickly configure your MAR month by month by month without having to go and highlight each one of those boxes on a monthly basis for everyone's meds who has a slightly unusual schedule, or slightly more less steady schedule. All right, and you have scheduled times, so you can note the number of times per day that this is to be given, and then the time boxes will open up for the number of times that you have. You can remove time boxes if you have added too many, and you can add more rows or more time boxes, and this will just add rows to your MAR, just like in the normal part of Therap, part of using the MAR. So we looked at the daily tab. Let's look at a couple of those other tabs. So you have the weekly schedule tab where you can schedule this every week or every other week, and then you can choose the days of the week when it is to be given. Every third week, every fifth week, you can go ahead and schedule that out as much as you want to. If this is a monthly schedule, this is to be given 2 or 5 days a month. You can pick the days when it's to be given, and then you can do this every month, every other month, every third month, every 10th month, again, however you need to do this. And then you have an hourly schedule every hour, every other hour, every third hour, and you have a PRN or other schedule, so you can schedule this however often the PRNs are to be given. All right, you are receiving some new fields on your administration details, and those new fields are administration method. If you look down in the red box at the bottom here, administration method, administration device, and route instruction. So your administration method, if this is supposed to be given with food, if this is to be taken topically after a shower, if this is, the administration device, if you're using a syringe or something specific about this, you can make note of that. Lost my mouse cursor for a moment. Any route instructions. So if you have complex route instructions, like this is to be administered topically around the wound area, but not on the wound or something, you can give specific instructions on the route there. Additionally, going further down the medication history, you have that section about home medication, which we still have, and some narrative about home medication. That didn't change. Prescription or over-the-counter, is it a general medication, a neurologic medication, a psychotropic medication? You've got some different fields. Actually, I don't know if it's psychotropic. It might be, there's a third category there, which is not coming to me. And then all of the med subcategories. No changes to those fields. We did, however, change purpose to become indication/purpose. So all of your purpose information will still be utilized here, but this is now also the indication, and that will pull over information from the pharmacy interface about the diagnosis for which this med is being given. So you automatically have a doctor's purpose, a coding purpose for what this med is to be given. You may want to add more information for layman's terms for the parent or guardian or the individual so that they know kind of what their meds are, what the med's purpose is for if they're not as familiar with the medical diagnoses. Side effects, nothing changes there. Comments are now instruction/comments, and again, that just pulls over the comments fields from your old data. When you pull a medication report, you now have fields for strength, for drug code, for strength unit, for drug coding system, and for give amount or quantity. So we like to give you some new fields with our reports. Anytime we can give you a new feature, it's a big win for us. However, we give it and we take it. If you look down here at the bottom of this PowerPoint, we are removing fields for dose, and discontinued reason, but we have changed discontinued on and reason for discontinuance to discontinued date and discontinued reason. So we just changed the terminology there. Effectiveness. We do not have a field for effectiveness moving forward with this medication custom report that you create. So your current reports that you create, you have that information on those reports. Moving forward, though, that has been targeted as being taken off. It's not information that's coming from the pharmacy interface. This lists effectiveness of medication on the report, so I'm not sure if that's something that we might just be changing the name of, but I did not see that listed. I also didn't actually discontinue a medication to see whether or not that particular field actually will continue going forward after discontinuance. So just an FYI, anything that we're removing When you go and look at the reports that you've already saved, that information would be there. Any new reports, those parameters won't be selectable in new custom reports if we're removing them. Okay, a few additional changes. So you cannot discontinue a med if if its begin date is after the discontinued date. So you want to discontinue a med on tomorrow, the May 11th, but its begin date is actually May 12th. You're not going to be able to discontinue it. You'll have to delete it, which is fine because you don't actually have any meds that are distributed at that time or administered at that time. And yeah, Jan, just to note, yeah, I did note that effectiveness of medication is still listed as an output column. I noticed in our instructions we are removing effectiveness. I think that I don't know if that's an error. I hadn't actually discontinued a med in the beta to know whether or not that's going to be discontinued. So that might still be there, or it might be just a name change. We'll have to see after this release comes out. So for discontinuing, you can discontinue a med if its begin date is after the discontinued date, or you cannot discontinue it if its begin date is after the discontinued date. You'll have to delete the med. It doesn't matter. You haven't administered the med yet, so you don't need to archive a med that was actually never given. You're also not going to be able to discontinue a med where the last administered date is after the date you say is discontinued. So if today's May 10th, you can't go and discontinue a med for the 9th, and you have an administration date for this morning on the 10th. You're going to get an error message. Even if the doctor's orders are that it's supposed to be discontinued yesterday, your discontinue date is today because you administered it today. You can write in your notes that it was supposed to be discontinued yesterday. It's just kind of a forced play that our system is going to make you do, and it does make a lot of sense if you're looking at that med when it was last given. The drug data bank is now going to add strength, code, and coding system automatically. When you look up a medication and you see you get a match in the drug data bank, whether or not you use the farming interface, we're now going to link strength and the code and the coding system for that medication and fill that information out for you automatically. You can go make changes to it, but if you're linking to that med, that information is going to pull with your medication. It's not just going to be the medication name and the dose and the type of medication, if it's a tablet or a capsule. So we'll give you some more information. All right, a few other changes that I want to make note of, and then we'll just talk about some of the other changes to other parts of the system that will take effect. One of those is when you schedule a med to be discontinued in the future. If you are scheduling a med to be discontinued on the let's say May 30th, and you have a medication that is to be given on May 30th, you are going to have to schedule that discontinued date for the date after May 30th. You will get an error for the moment if you try and you won't get an error, but you won't be able to stop giving that medication on the 30th. Let me rephrase that because I don't think that made very much sense. If I'm confused, I know you guys are confused. Let's say I am to be given Depakote twice a day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and I want to issue a discontinue order for that medication on May 30th. And I want to discontinue that medication for May 30th at 7 a.m. So I get that 7 a.m. dosage, but I don't get the 7 p.m. dosage. If you select May 30th as your discontinue date, you're not going to be able to give that 7 a.m. dose. So what you're going to have to do is schedule a date for May 31st as the date of discontinuance. You're not going to be able to give any medications on May 31st. And for May 30th, you can give that medication for 7 p.m. and for the 7 a.m. For the 7 p.m. whole medication, you'll have to put a hold notice. So hopefully that makes sense. I know there is some there's some user issues with you know, a discontinued date, and if you discontinue a date on that date, then people can still administer meds later in the evening, even though you wanted to do something in the morning. So we just discontinued all meds for the date where you said the med has to be discontinued. There's also still the concern about not being able to do an on hold for a future date. I don't think that was affected with this pharmacy interface. I don't think you can still go into the future and say this med is going to be on hold on the 31st. You'll just have to write a T note and note that that med is going to be discontinued, and it's going to be discontinued kind of midday. So some of those meds from the previous day will be given, other meds are not to be given, and that PRN or not PRN, that T note is going to have to be written so that people are aware of that med change. We will continue to look into that as a feature and see what we can do for a solution for you there. All right, looks like I got a question on that. All right, so just to confirm, so the DC date should be the day after I want to end it. If a dose needs to be given on the 30th at 7 p.m., I would need to DC the med on the 31st, or can I still give this 7:59 p.m. dose as I schedule the DC date at 11:59 on the 20th? I'm a little confused, Jennifer, but yes, you would need to schedule the DC for the 31st. So the last dose that you give, that med is not discontinued yet. You can discontinue that date on the date after you've given the medication. But if you want to discontinue in the future, you're going to have to schedule it for the next day. And we will we'll clarify that a little bit for you guys in a blog entry so that you can reference that, and we'll put up like an FAQ guide as well. I'm putting that on my to-do list because that is a little clunky, but it's one of the things that I always ask to clarify. We try and make this as pretty and seamless as possible, but there's always a few little hiccups at first that we've got to get over and make sure that everything is working, and then we can kind of affect those. There will be changes to the MAR itself. The MAR doesn't change too much. The big changes to the MAR is that there are a couple more fields that come onto the MAR that you don't see now. One of those fields is the begin date and time, and the end date and time are listed directly on the MAR. So here you have give amount and quantity, which used to be dose and total dose. That information would, if this was 1 milligram tablet, or it would say in parentheses what the old dose and total dose was, you'd have the begin date and the begin time. If you are trying to administer that medication, and I think I talked about this earlier, but if you're trying to administer it after you have the end date, you will get an error message. Or if you're trying to administer it before the begin date, you get an error message. And you see here the error message that you're going to get if this medication is not active on a date when you're trying to administer it. You're also, like I said, that give amount and quantity, the information we have in the system that you've put in for dose and total dose will be migrated to give amount / quantity, and it will look like this in a bracket: dose, :10, total dose, :20, close bracket. Anything new that you create, you won't see dose and total dose. You will just be able to see the give amount, which would be, 20 or whatever the strength or the amount that is going to be given. All right, your MAR reports are going to change slightly because they're going to include those new fields like give amount, quantity, strength, and strength unit. So when you're creating custom fields or when you're doing detailed reports, it will have that information listed as well. I don't think there's any changes to the PRN follow-up report. That was pretty straightforward. The detailed report had a couple of those fields. I think strength is or give amount and quantity and strength are included in those, as well as strength unit kind of automatically with those detailed reports. All right, before we end this, a couple things that I want to talk about, so I'm just going to back that up a second so that no one jumps off just yet. Again, I said, even if you are not using the pharmacy interface, some of this is going to affect you as long as you're using medical data or assessments or anywhere where there is medical information in the system. So if you are using GERs and you are doing GER med errors, your med errors are going to look a little bit different because you have new fields there. You have fields for strength and strength unit and frequency and all of that information. So those GERs are going to look a little bit different because they'll have those fields. And the corresponding reports for med error reports will have corresponding new information for those corresponding fields. And that will be the last time I say corresponding for some time. Your eChat or your health, electronic comprehensive health assessment is going to have some new fields because it pulls in your medication histories. And for those medication histories, it gives you summaries of the different medication fields. Your health tracking doctor's appointments where you pull in medications for individuals are going to look a little bit different because it's pulling in some of those fields. Most of the places that will be changed in Therap that will be affected is where you see the dose and the total dose being changed to give amount and quantity, and the strength and strength unit being changed from the amount. So those will be the big changes that you see throughout the system. It's not going to be anything major. There's not going to be any concerns where you have to go in and make a bunch of changes to your medications. We're going to make the changes for you. You will notice it will be there will be some downtime this weekend. It may be quite a long downtime. I think we'll have a schedule notice up for the downtime. So get your offline forms ready if you need them for the MARS and for the other parts of the system. We'll try and do this overnight and get it done as quickly as possible, but there is a big data migration involved. So I just want you guys to be aware this weekend we'll have some downtime associated with this release. I talked about the scheduled discontinued, where if you want to discontinue something in the future and if you're discontinued on that day. I talked a little bit about the migration for the give amount and the quantity. We talked about some of the new categories that you're going to see on reports, some of the things that will be taken off of reports. That data is not going to disappear. It's just when you create new reports, you won't see all of those categories. It will be in the archived reports that you already have. And any of your old forms that you had that stuff listed, you would still be able to see that on the old data and those forms and those reports that you've created. You don't have to go and create reports right away for all of these, worrying that these fields are going to go away and you won't be able to create those kinds of reports again. That's all, part of the changes. We've tried to cover, every aspect to make sure that nothing is missing. But I think that covers the changes for the pharmacy interface and the changes that correspond with the pharmacy interface. And I feel like I may be missing something big for this webinar if I don't have it in my notes. So if I do, I will hear from that very soon and it will send out an addendum. But if you guys have questions, do reach out to us at support@therapservices.net or just contact us on the webpage. Give us a call if you want a lengthy chat. We'll be happy to talk with you. You can reach out to me if you have any follow-up for this. Again, this recording I will get uploaded tonight to the website, and I will send everyone who is on this call a copy of it. If you want to reference it, it will just be on our website on the videos pages. I'll send you a link come tomorrow so you can reference. If you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I want to wish you guys a happy Tuesday, and one of the questions: when will the pricing module? When will the pricing be available for the pharmacy interface? Or when will the pricing modules be available for the pharmacy interface? Pricing for this: you should reach out to your local sales rep as far as pricing is concerned. We try to make it as affordable as possible because this is on the actual website. I can't give you guys the price with this webinar, but they will they'll discuss that cost with you. So that is if you need any assistance with who your local rep is, shoot me an email and I will have them call you. It won't cost an arm and a leg, but you guys got lots of fingers, so if it costs a few fingers, no big deal. Kidding. shouldn't be that bad. It's comparable to some of the other add-ons for other modules. Any other questions? All right, you guys have been great. Again, I will email you tomorrow a link to this so you can reference it or send it to other team members. Otherwise, have a great day. Thank you for attending. Anyone who's planning to be on this Friday's webinar, we will be postponing this webinar. I'll be sending out an email to you guys due to a scheduling conflict. So we will be rescheduling that in June. Thank you, and have a great day, everybody. Bye now.